Hello and welcome to this exploring session, and today we are looking at a pleasant comedy showing the contention between liberality and prodigality as it was played before Her Majesty, printed in 1602. I'm not going to say when it was performed because actually I've just come across contradictory dates, so I'm actually going to ask the room to a degree when you think it was made, based on stylistic grounds, and then we'll discuss later as to where we think it should actually live. To dive into this play, we have this wonderful room of readers. We're going to get through about 2/3 of it today, and then we'll finish it tomorrow before we go into another play. But for now, we're going to have a look at this particular contention between liberality and prodigality. Reading in no particular order, reading today Prodigality and Captain Well Done is...
Hello, I'm Pamela, and I am an actor in London. I was trying to come up with a funny joke about Well Done, but I was too slow.
Reading Dick Dicer and possibly a courtier, if we get to that scene today, is...
Hello, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer and director based in Germany.
Reading Virtue, Ostler and Fortune itself is...
Alan Scott, based in Chapple. Can I move your horse, sir?
And reading Host and Dandaline is...
Aliki Chapple. I'm an actor, writer, translator based in Lancaster in the UK.
Reading the parts of Postilion and Money today is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm also living in Romford.
Reading Equity, Chamberlain and Liberality is...
Hello, I'm Dan. I'm an actor based in Montpellier, France.
Reading Vanity and Tom Toss is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian, and we had a little discussion, and my character may actually be Tom Tosser.
We shall see. We shall see. Either in spirit or in fact. And reading Prologue and Tenacity is...
Hi, I'm Steve Longstaffe, scholar of early modern drama based in Lancaster in the UK.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be filling in any parts that I've accidentally forgotten not to give to anybody, and also reading any stage directions as come up. We are very much at the mercy of the internet in terms of the text itself. I don't have a suitable additional copy to cross-reference and check, so there may be errors that we will fly into as we go. But let's see how it goes. We're going to go into the prologue and into the first few scenes, possibly, as we gave ourselves a bit of a run-up before we start discussing it. So enter prologue.
The proverb is, how many men, so many minds, which maketh proof how hard a thing it is of sundry minds to please the sundry kinds. In which respect I have inferred this, that where men's minds appear so different, no play, no part can all alike content. The great divine calls for divinity, the civil student for philosophy. The courtier craves some rare sound history, the baser sort for acts of pleasantry. So every sort desireth specially, which thing may best content his fantasy. But none of these our Barantoy affords. To pulpits we refer divinity, matters of estate to council boards. And as for the quirks of sage philosophy, or points of squirriliting scurrility, well, the one we shun, for childish years too rare, the other unfit for such as present are. But this we bring is but to serve the time, a poor device to pass the day withal. To loftier points of skill we dare not climb, lest, birking over high, with shame we fall. Such as doth best beseem such as we be, such we present, and crave your courtesy. That courtesy, that gentleness of yours, which wanted is to pardon fault of ours, which granted, we have all that we require, your only favour, only our desire.
And we go into the first scene. Enter Vanity, Solus, all in feathers.
In words, to make description of my name, my nature or conditions were but vain, sith this attire so plainly shows the same, as showed cannot be in words more plain. For lo, thus roundabout in feathers dight, doth plainly figure mine inconstancy. As feathers, light of mind, of wit as light, subjected still to mutability. And for to paint me forth more properly, behold each feather decked gorgeously, with colours strange in such variety, as plainly pictures perfect vanity. And so I am, to put you out of doubt, even vanity, wholly within, without, in head, in heart, in all parts round about. But whence I come, and why I hither come, and upon whom I daily do attend, in brief to show you in a little sum my special meaning is, and so an end. I come from Fortune, my most sovereign dame, amongst whose chiefest servants I am one. Fortune, that earthly goddess great of name, to whom all suits I do prefer alone. She, minding in this place forthwith to appear, is insent her most gorgeous pomp and princely port, sends me to see all things in presence here, prepared and furnished in the bravest sort. Here will she mount this stately sumptuous throne, as she is wont to hear each man's desire, and whoso wins her favour by his moan, may have of her the thing he doth require. And yet another dame there is, her enemy, twixt whom remains continual emulation, Virtue, who in respect of Fortune's sovereignty is held, God wot, of simple reputation. Yet hither comes, poor soul in her degree, this other seat half forced to supply, but twixt their state what difference will be? Yourself shall judge and witness when you see. Therefore I must go, deck up handsomely, what best beseems Dame Fortune's dignity.
And exit Vanity into the next scene, scene 2. Enter Prodigality, Postilion, and Host.
Postilion, stay. Thou druggest on like an ass. Lo, here's an inn, which I cannot well pass. Here will we bait and rest ourselves a while.
Why, sir, you have to go but 6 more miles. The way is fair, the moon shines very bright. Let's now go on, and then rest for all night.
Tush, postil, fair or foul, or far or near, my weary bones must needs be rested here.
'Tis but a paltry inn, there's no good cheer, yet shall ye pay for all things passing dear?
I care not for all that, I love mine ease.
Well, sir, a good name, then do what you please.
Knock then at the gate.
Ho! Who's at home? Ostler, Chamberlain, Tapster. Ho! Taking gentleman, knave, slave, host, hostess. Ho!
And the stage direction reads, and I love these stage directions, literally for knocking on the door, it reads, rip, rap, rip, rap.
What, is there none that answers? 2 or more? Sir, you must make entrance at some other port, for here's no passage.
No, let me come. I'll knock a little harder. Here must I in, for sure I will no farther.
Rip, rap, rap, rap.
Ho, who dwells here?
Rip, rap, rap.
I'll call on the women another while. Ho, butter wench, dairymaid, nurse, laundress, cook, host, hostess, anybody? Ho!
Who's there?
Up, sir, with a hoarse nightcap. What, are ye all in a drunken dream? Can ye not hear?
Not a word more. He's fast asleep again, I fear. What, ho?
Oh no!
How now? Now the devil take thee. Can calling, nor knocking, nor nothing awake thee?
Now, sir, what lack ye?
Lodging?
What are you?
Gentleman, seest thou not?
Whence come ye?
What skills that? Open the gate.
Soft a while. I am not wont so late to take in guests. I like ye not. Away.
Nay, stay a while, mine host, I pray thee, stay. Open the gate, I pray thee heartily, and what we take we will pay thee royally.
Would ye have lodging then?
Yea, rather than my life.
Oh, stay a while. I'll first go ask my wife.
Nay, nay, send her rather to me. If she be a pretty wench, we shall soon agree.
Now I'll both from him, and his wife both from me.
Then you would have lodgings belike, sir.
Yea, I pray thee come quickly.
What's your name, and please you?
Prodigality.
And will you indeed spend lustily?
Yea, that I will.
And take that ye find patiently.
What else?
And pay what I ask willingly?
Yea, all reckonings unreasonably.
Well, go to. For this once I am content to receive ye. Come on, sir, I dare say you are almost weary.
Thou mayst swear it.
And they exit, and we'll pause there. So many fun things in that scene alone. Prodigality. I don't want to walk anymore. I'm tired. My feet hurt. Let's just stop here. This'll do. The stage directions being very specific as to what kind of knocking's going on. Very specific. Love that. They're calling out literally any servant. It's the kind of activity that if I ran a business, I'd just, no, we're not opening the door for you. Off.
Well, I tried that, but he's ready to spend money in my pub, so.
I also get the feeling you're going to take all my money.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good on you. Good on you. I love the fact the host just keeps falling asleep as well.
Yeah.
It's just literally, and it's just, wake up. The business potential of this scene is huge. It's full of good business.
Yes. I thought it was very clean. It was a very clean opening for a play. And I thought you got your attention immediately.
It's interesting following on from Vanity with her feather boa.
She's great. Loved her.
It was great.
I mean, it's probably not a feather boa, but it's definitely going to be a feather boa.
Oh, it's going to be a feather boa.
It's got to be full glam.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of the Aztec feather cloak, but yes, you're right. The bow would be far more appropriate.
Yes.
We saw in the chat there was a lot of love for scurrility.
Humility.
I mean.
Fabulous.
I'm worried about the horses here. If we've got a postilion was someone who was sent with a hired horse to bring the hired horse back.
Mm-hmm.
They should be arriving by horse.
We could have coconuts.
Either a hired horse or a hired horse and carriage.
Stephen, you're muted at the moment, but I saw a hand.
Yeah, just I've no idea about the dating, but I've been thinking recently about playing in inns. And I think this could be a play that's either put together with touring in mind, because a lot of touring venues out of London are inns, or within the city walls we have some inns which put plays on too. So there's quite a lot of scenes, some quite famous scenes with Ostlers. So I wonder if all this stuff about the servants, and I'll call for all of these different kind of servants, I'll call for the women. If we imagine that taking place perhaps on a scaffold in an inn, And the setups of the inns are, anyone know the George in London? You know, these kind of balconies all the way around. Yeah. Yeah. So we've got a really interesting, potentially really interesting little start to the play, and also something that will work in lots and lots of touring venues, which, you know, people haven't really thought a huge amount about how much plays were put together with that in mind. They thought about props, but they haven't thought necessarily about site specificity. So that might be something to put next to Helen's point.
Any additional thoughts? I mean,
Not additional per se, but I just love the idea of being on different balconies, and like you could appear in one place and like shouting in somewhere and then appear somewhere else, and that could be amazing.
I must admit, the thought that's going through my head is the host as master of the house. As in Blums.
Yeah. Well, we haven't met his wife yet, so we will meet her anon. Any additional thoughts? So, general thumbs up so far. Lot going on. Let's see what happens next. We've met Vanity. We've had a reference to Fortune. Fortune's a frequent, gets mentioned a lot in plays, but we will actually meet Fortune later. But this scene now, scene 3, enter Virtue and Equity.
Oh, most unhappy state of reckless humankind, O dangerous race of man, unwitting, fond and blind, O wretched worldlings, subject to all misery, when fortune is the prop of your prosperity. Can you so soon forget that you have learned of yore, the grave divine precepts, the sacred wholesome law, that wise philosophers with painful industry have written and pronounced for man's felicity? Well, it has been taught that fortune's hold is tickle. She bears a double face, disguised, false and fickle, full freighted with all slights. She playeth on the pack. On whom she smileth most, she turneth most to wrath. The time hath been when virtue had the sovereignty of gracious price, and placed in chiefest dignity. But topsy-turvy now the world is turned about. Proud fortune is preferred, poor virtue clean thrust out. Man's sense so dulled is, so all things come to pass, above the massy gold to esteem the brittle glass.
Madam, have patience. Dame Virtue must sustain until the heavenly powers do otherwise ordain.
Equity, for my part, I envy not her state, nor yet mislike the meanness of my simple rate. But what the heavens assigned, that do I still think best. My fame was never yet by fortune's frown oppressed. Here, therefore, will I resist in this my homely bower, patience to abide the storms of every shower.
Just pause there. Yeah, interesting rhyming suddenly flying in there. Which is sort of almost yes, quite interesting. I'm just wondering whether yes, we have had rhyming elsewhere, haven't we? Yes. Yeah, virtue.
But as a scene, it doesn't seem to connect with the previous one at all.
No, well, I don't think that's its intention. I suspect it's to just break up the last scene and the next scene. I suspect that's what's going on. It may be connecting thematically with what Vanity was talking about at the top. So it may be that it's deliberately not intersecting directly with the primary action. Yeah.
Oh, well, so you got sort of 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6.
I don't know whether it's going to continue or what. Any thoughts about that little scene?
Very long lines.
Yeah, it's a different verse style entirely.
Quite a bugger to get your head into.
Yeah, and that last line of the first speech, above the massy gold to esteem the brittle glass. I don't know. I've never heard of glass being seen as a fortune of vanity thing. I mean, it was proper glass was extremely expensive. And fortune, I would have thought massy gold would have gone with fortune rather than virtue. You know, it seems very strange.
Well, Virtue's very unhappy with their placement with Fortune.
She says she isn't, but she is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she's obviously very put out. Pamela.
I'm just wondering if glass could mean a mirror, and it could be like relating to vanity and people loving themselves more than anything else.
Aliki.
I was just going to say that, the same thing.
That makes a lot more sense, a looking glass.
Okay, very short scene at, I say, potentially to break up action, but maybe it has a much more specific purpose. Abide in their homely bower is Virtue, so who knows where that is within the geography of this particular space. So let's move on to the next scene. Scene 4, enter Tenacity and Vanity severally and not seeing each other at first.
By Gog's bores, these old stumps are stark tired. Have round about for life conquired, where any posting nags were to be hired. Can get none, where they all were fired. Can come too late for money, I hold a penny. Suitors to fortune there are so many, and all for money, you'll gauge around some. Money is gone before tenacity come. Then am I dressed even to my utter shame, a fool returned, like as to a fool I came. Can sure have come 40 miles and 20, with all these bags you see, and wallets empty. But when have served to fortune, fine and dainty, he hope to fill 'em up with money plenty. But here is one, of whom I will conquire, what way he might attain to my desire. Godspeed, my son.
What, Father Crust? Will the post you so fast?
Nay, lady, son, it can make no haste. Well, she may say to thee, I'm tired clean.
More shame to you to keep your ass so lean. But whither go you now?
To a goodly lady, whom they call her Fortune.
And wherefore?
For money, son, but ik fear she come too soon, too late.
Indeed, it seemeth by thy beggar's state, thou hast need of money. But let me hear, how or by whom thinkst thou to get this gear?
You speak her fair, you make low curtsy.
That's somewhat. But how wilt thou come at her?
Our lady, son, is this true? There lies the matter. He'll make some friend.
Whom?
Well, some man of hers that nearer doth attend.
Who's that?
Ich know not. That inquire of me, of thee. Therefore, if thou knowest, tell it me.
What in such haste, forsooth, so suddenly, and so good cheap, without reward or fee?
Poor man, their son must crave of courtesy. Get I once money, thou shalt rewarded be.
Go to then, I'll tell thee. His name is Vanity.
And where is that?
No more ado, but ask for Vanity. Reward him well, he'll help thee to money.
But where?
Why, here, in this place. This is Lady Fortune's palace.
This? Goodly, how gay it is. Now hope I sure of money not to miss. So long, my son. It will go rest myself a while and come again.
And exit Tenacity.
Do so. Now sure this coistrel makes me smile to see his greedy gaping thus for gain. First hardly got, then kept with harder pain, as you ere long by proof shall see full plain.
This is mine old inn. Here he'll knock. Hello? Oh,
What roister have we there that rappeth so?
How nice you are, what lack you?
lodging.
Lodging? There is none, all is full.
How so?
Taken up by gentlemen long ago.
Let me yet have some room for mine ass.
Asinus super asin, volitate advertas.
Oh, is it that thou pratest therewithal?
Look forth and see, a lover, fat, plate and tall, upon a tired ass, bare, short and small.
Ho, 'tis Tenacity, my old acquaintance, and to my wife of near alliance, Father Tenacity.
Mine host, Godspeed. How do you? Take in, Ostler.
Anon, sir.
Chamberlain, wait upon my kindred here.
Well, sir.
And they exit. So a couple of interesting things here is we have another animal on stage, ladies and gentlemen. Or potentially. He's constantly talking about his ass and he's not talking about his behind. We might be occasionally. Who knows? The exit that I pronounced is clearly Vanity's exit at the end of her speech rather than Tenacity exiting. So that I have moved.
Either Tenacity is blind as well as old and tired and tenacious, or Vanity is male.
Vanity may indeed be male. I don't think we've had a gender for Vanity explicitly stated. I know Fortune is down as a female. I noted that earlier. I don't know what the gender. Anyone noticed anything specific?
There was definitely a he.
Yeah. So yes,
Like son.
Son.
I'm calling him son.
yeah. Yes, and we have comedy rustic dialogue in the conventional style, which is has been established for a while in dramatic writing.
And which is mimicking a particular region, I take it?
It's Mummerset. It's any regional something other. It's a convention. It's not a real accent, as far as I can tell.
Generic archers.
Yeah.
Well, that I must say, I thought it was being read rather Borsetshire.
So yes, it's interesting that whole thing of you need to go look for you need to go between Tenacity needs to go between to get to Fortune, and Vanity saying you need to find Vanity, and of course Vanity's standing right there, and go knock in there, and of course it's the place where he's already been before, and it's an odd little scene. It's an odd little scene. Any how did you find it, Stephen? I mean, beyond just trying to put your teeth in the correct place.
It was mostly trying to put my teeth in the correct place. I really wish I hadn't started doing it, but
I mean, it's nice, the host saying, who's out there, and Postilion saying, no, we're full. We've put all our stuff out now. You can't have any of the rooms.
Sorry.
Aliki first.
I would guess that they have some brilliant comic actor, right, that the audience just loves, and he's just there going, doing all of his business. And it's just lots of opportunities for it is all. I don't see it doing much else.
Yeah. It's got all those sort of gaps of possibility within that text. It's a rich enough text in its own right, but it also has it's got open doors all over the place. Other thoughts? Who wants to leap in?
No, they say they're in Lady Fortune's palace, and Tenacity says, "Goodly Lord, how gay it is!" But in fact, it's the inn.
Yeah.
I mean, either it's it's possible this man is as blind as a bat.
Well, it's just dark out,
Or he doesn't know his ass from his elbow.
Oh, but he's also the innkeeper's kinsman, and he's not surprised to find the innkeeper, his kinsman, there. So he knows where he is, right?
Yeah, well, it might be, more figurative. Lady Fortune's palace can be found in the back room of any inn. It also depends on what Vanity is trying to do, because it doesn't say, I am Vanity, you should come to me for assistance to get to Fortune. It says you should look for Vanity, and it's an interesting set of motivations of what's going on with Vanity there.
I mean, the standard, you make friends with the servants of great men in order to get access. This is standard early modern. But it's just that Tenacity doesn't seem to know where he is.
Okay, any additional thoughts before we move forward? There's a certain amount of unlocking that we still haven't quite managed to do with this, but it still seems to be a fun ride so far.
Just wanted to say, in echoing what Helen said, my character just appeared from nowhere. There was no stage direction for it. It was just there, and I think that goes with what Helen was saying about we're not sure where we are, and we're not also sure who's there.
I see this as this does need some kind of setting with windows and doors. That the host and they're constantly popping in and out. I think there's a geography to this location that's very specific.
Yes.
Or a variable geography, as Stephen was suggesting, that it was reasonably easily adaptable to any pub yard.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. We've got a couple of scenes. We've got some songs. I'm not going to ask you to sing, but Money, if you want to just say the dialogue as we go into scene 5. Enter Money and Vanity. So Vanity, who exited just a moment ago in the previous scene, they will enter, and perhaps they're singing together, but I'll just ask Money to read the song.
As light as a fly, in pleasant jollity, with mirth and melody, sing money, 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 money the minion, the spring of all joy, money the medicine that heals each annoy, money the jewel that man keeps in store, money the idol that women adore. That money am I, the fountain of bliss, whereof whoso tasteth doth never amiss. Money, 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 sing money, money, money.
What, money? Sing you so lustily?
I have none other cause who would not sing merrily, being as I am in such felicity. The God of this world, so mighty of power, as makes men above men, and all in an hour. Yea, where I am, all is prosperity, and where I want is naught but misery.
Money saith reason, for so doth it fare. Money makes masteries, old proverbs declare. But money of fortune, our sovereign dame, what news?
Marry, sir, of purpose I hither came, to let thee know she will forthwith be here, and lo, already, see, she doth appear.
'Tis true, now must I show my diligence. Down, ladies, stoop, do your reverence.
And here it's labelled as an additional scene, but it's obviously a continuation. Enter Fortune in her chariot, drawn with kings. I don't know who's singing the song, but I'll just ask Fortune to read it. Fortune? Alan.
I beg your pardon. Reverence, do reverence, fair dames, do reverence. Unto this goddess great, do humble reverence. Fortune of worldly state, the governess. Fortune of man's delight, the mistress. Fortune of earthly bliss, the patroness. Fortune, the spring of joy and happiness. Lo, this is she, with twinkling of her eye, that misers can advance to dignity. And princes turn to misers' misery. Reverence, due reverence.
And the song being over, and almost certainly not sung by Fortune, probably by the kings drawing the chariot. I see something very camp occurring here. In my mind's eye. Anyway, we'll return to the scene. Fortune speaks.
Report has spread that virtue here in place, arrived is, a silly court to hold, and therefore I am come with faster pace to encounter her, whose countenance is so bold. I doubt not, but by this my pompous show, by vestures wrought with gold so gorgeously, by reverence done to me of high and low, by all these ornaments of bravery, by this my train that now attends me so, by kings that hail my chariot to and fro. Fortune is known the queen of all renown, that Mars sets up and throws her down. Well is it known, and all what contrary effects twixt fortune and Dame Virtue have been wrought. How still I condemn, she me rejects. I her despise, she setteth me at naught. So as great wars are grown for sovereignty, and strife is great twixt us for victory, now is the time of trial to be had. The place appointed eke in presence here, so as the truth to all sorts, good and bad, more clear than light shall presently appear. It shall be seen what fortune's power can do, when virtue shall be forced to yield thereto. It shall be seen when virtue cannot bide, but shrink for shame, a silly face to hide. Then fortune shall advance herself before, all harms to help, all losses to restore. But why do I myself thus long restrain from executing this I do intend? Time posts away, and words they be but vain. Deeds, indeed, our quarrel now must end. Therefore in place I will no longer stay, but to my stately throne myself convey. Reverence, due reverence,
etc., which suggests that that's a continuation of the song that, so off she goes in a chariot surrounded by her wonderful singing kings or queens. So yes, it's suddenly the hint of the feather boa has been unleashed as the act closes. We've gone from this sort of almost internal, in-yard, in-scene, travellers, people turning up, and then this happens, and isn't it fab? It's suggesting our budget for this show is starting to increase. Money, 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 money. Many songs have been suggested to use it with the modern audience. Thoughts about these scenes? Anyone want to leap in? Elizabeth first.
I just said I like songs. It'd be interesting to play with. Interesting to play with songs.
Oh yeah, I mean they're two songs one after the other, but they're upping the ante each time. One's just Money by herself to singing Happiness, and then we go to Fortune with her own private chorus of adoring fans. Oh, the possibilities. Other thoughts, Helen? I think.
Yes, I am slightly baffled by Fortune. I'm not sure what sort of fortune is. Is it good fortune only, or is it fortune otherwise known as chance? I mean, it seems so far that fortune is all good fortune. But in fact, fortune was another word for chance.
Or luck. Yeah, luck, that sort of
luck,
thing.
Yeah. And so, I'm surprised that everybody is assuming that fortune can only be good.
Yeah, that's the lesson.
It delivers money and dignity and everything.
Yeah, I suspect the play will start pushing on that concept when things, inevitably, something must go wrong, surely. Something must. Other thoughts? Sarah?
I was thinking pretty much from the start that it has a kind of Alice in Wonderland quality to it, this play, with people popping up here and then disappearing and someone else popping up. And then I love that line in the scene with Vanity and Tenacity where Vanity says, "Oh, but see, this is Lady Fortune's palace." And at that point I was thinking, oh yes, and at that point all of a sudden everything goes shiny and gold and the pink lights come on and then with this last scene it's gone even more so. It's like Alice in Wonderland set, it's like the Lecargo Foll production of Alice in Wonderland. I could just totally see that working for this play.
Well, if the allegorical characters are not actually on the same plane as everybody else on some level, that they have access to the other world, then that sort of works, and that makes a logic of talking about the inn as being the home of Lady Fortune. It is in the other realm of canon. That sort of makes sense. I'm seeing an awful lot of pink and Congo blue lighting for this.
I'm trying not to.
Oh.
No, because in order to understand it, you can't dump other productions of other plays and events on top of it, because that means you can't find the meaning, the actual intended meaning.
But
sorry, I'm being really tedious here.
To be honest, that's the way I understand them.
Well, the other thing is we don't, until we finish the play, we don't know what that is. And I think going down blind alleys is a perfectly legitimate way of understanding how it works, by getting it horribly wrong.
Of course.
Because at the moment, there is no wrong, he said, lying. Other thoughts before we move on? No, okay, let's rattle into what's called Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Liberality.
How seldom is it seen that virtue is regarded, or men of virtuous sort for virtuous deeds rewarded. So wants the world to pamper those that not deserve, while such as merit best without relief do starve. Great imperfections are in some of greatest skill, that colours can discern, white from black, good from ill. Oh, blind effects of man, how are you led awry to leave assured good to like frail vanity? If some of virtue's train for a prince and country's good, to show their faithful hearts shall hazard life and blood, and go to enlist apart without their due reward, small's the encouragement, the example very hard. Where any well deserve and are rewarded well, where prince and people both in safety sure do dwell, where he that truly serves hath nothing for his pain, more hearts are lost than pecks of gold can ransom home again. Let states, therefore, that wish to maintain stately dignity seek to acquaint themselves with liberality, for that is which wins the subjects' faithful love, which faithful love all harms from them and theirs remove. Liberality am I, virtue's steward here, for the virtuous sort, who for the virtuous sort do nothing hold too dear. But few to virtue seek, all sorts to fortune fly, there seeking to maintain their chief prosperity. But whoso mocks the end shall be enforced to say, O fortune, thou art blind, let virtue lead the way. Ah, who comes here? It seemeth old tenacity. I must away, for contraries cannot agree.
So Liberality exits, having seen the entrance of Tenacity, Scene 2. Currently muted, sir, currently muted.
Well, since I see there is none other boot, shall now take pains to go the rest afoot. For brought mine ass is saddle pinched full sore. So am I, even here, I shall say no more. But yet I must my business well apply, for which he came, that is, to get money. 'Twas told that this was Lady Fortune's place. She'll go boldly to her, that's a flat case. For if she speed not now at this first glance, I'm sure to be dashed quite out of countenance by certain lusty gallant lads hereby, seeking Fortune's favour as well as I. Oh, knew I where to find Master Vanity, Fortune's servant, of mine honesty. Look where he comes in time as fine and trim, as if he held him all this while by the chin.
And enter Vanity to Tenacity.
Is he indeed? What say you to him?
Marry, sir, I'm come now for money.
For money, man? What, still so hastily?
Yea, by gis, sir, 'tis high time, for ye. I'm afeard another will ha afore me.
Why so? Who is thou fearest? Tell me.
Marry, sir, they call him Master Prodigality.
Prodigality, is it true? Young, wasteful, roisting prodigality, to encounter old, sparring, covetous, niggard tenacity. Sure, such a match as needs must yield us sport. Therefore, until the time that prodigality resort, I'll entertain this crust with some device. Well, father, to be sped of money with a trice, what will you give me?
Worthy son, do rid me quickly hence, shall give thee a fair piece of 3 halfpence.
Indeed.
Here's my hand.
Now, sir, in sooth, you offer so bountifully, as needs you must be used accordingly. But tell me, know you him that cometh here?
Coxbors, 'tis prodigality. 'Tis he I did fear. I'm afraid him I go whistle now for money.
Tush, man, be of good cheer, I warrant thee. He speedeth best that best rewardeth me.
And enter Prodigality to Vanity and Tenacity, with also host Fortune and Money.
Sir, now your reckoning is made even. I'll trust no more.
No?
No, sure.
Set cock-a-hoop on. Then by some means, good or bad, there is no remedy, but money must be had. By the body of an ox, behold, here, this ass will be my familiar wheresoever I pass. Why, Goodman Crust, tell me, is there no nay, but where I go you must forestall my way?
By Gog's flesh and his flounders, sir, she hope the Queen's highway is free for every man, for thee as me, for me as thee, for poor tenacity as for proud prodigality. He'll go in the Queen's peace about my business.
This way.
Yea,
To whom?
to Fortune my mistress.
Wherefore?
That's no matter to you.
No matter, sir. But by your crustship, ere you go, 'tis a plain case. Prodigality will know, and therefore be round. Come off and tell me quickly.
And thou so vain know, he go for money.
Out upon thee, villain, traitor, thief, pick-purse, thou penurious knave, caterpillar, and what's worse, hast thou heard me say that for money I went, and couldst thou creep so closely my purpose to prevent? By the life I live, thou shalt die the death. Where shall I first begin? Above or beneath? Say thy prayers, slave.
How now, my friends? What needs this variance? Money comes not by force, money comes by chance. And sith that one instant you both seek for money, appeal both to fortune. And then shall you try whether either or neither may hit to have money.
Gentlemen, you say well. I know not your name, but indeed for that purpose to fortune I came, for furtherance whereof if I might obtain your friendly help, I would quit your pain.
I am your old acquaintance, sir. Remember me?
Thee, quotha? For thy large offers I may not forget thee. You be both my friends, and therefore indifferently I will commend you both to fortune's courtesy. Lady most bright, renowned goddess fair, unto thy stately throne do here repair two suitors of two several qualities, two qualities indeed that be mere contraries. That one is called wasteful prodigality, this one clept covetous tenacity. Both at once unto your royal majesty most humbly make their suits for money.
Let's hear what they can say.
Divine goddess, behold, with all humility, for money I appeal unto thy deity, which in high honour of thy majesty I mean to spend abroad most plentifully.
Sweet mistress, grant to poor Tenacity the keeping of this golden darling money. He'll vow to thee as long as life shall dure, under strong lock and key, she'll keep him fast and sure.
Nay, pleaseth then your pleasant fantasy to hear them plead in musical harmony.
It liketh me.
Oh, none better.
Well, though my singing be but homely, she'll sing and spring too, could lose money.
Well, to it a God's name. Let saying go then, and each sing for himself the best he can.
Yes, it's a lip-sync battle between Prodigality and Tenacity. Prodigality gets his first verse in first. You don't have to sing.
Thank you. The princely heart that freely spends relieves full money 1,000 more. He getteth praise, he gaineth friends, and people's love procures therefore. But pinching fist that spareth all of due relief the needy robs, naught can be caught where naught doth fall. There comes no good of greedy cobs. This issue therefore do I make, the best deserver draw the stake.
Whilst thou do spend with friend and foe at home, she hold the plough by the tail. She dig, she delve, she's debt, she sow. She mow, she reap, she ply my flail. Pair of dice is they delight. Thou liv'st for most part by the spoil. I truly labour day and night to get my living by my toil. She'll therefore sure this issue make, the best deserver draw the stake.
Allo, satis disputantum.
By my father's soul, friend, now he'll once begun, let him to it. He'll pass not when she done.
Lo, lady, you have heard our reasons both expressed, and thereby are resolved, I hope, who merits best.
Dame Fortune dealeth not by merit, but by chance. He hath it by hap, whom Fortune doth advance. And of his hap, as he shall have small assurance, so in his hap likewise is small continuance. Therefore, at a venture, my dear son, money, I do commit you unto prodigality.
Prodigality! Oh, poor money, I pity thee. Continual unrest must be thy destiny, each day, each hour, yea, every minute tossed, like to a tennis ball from pillar to post.
I am where I like.
And is there then no other remedy? Must poor Tenacity put up the injury?
Your time is not yet come.
But when will it come, trow ye?
At the next turning water, happily.
And should wist that, should the more quietly depart, and keep their while a hungry hoping heart. How sayest thou, friend Vanity?
No doubt, but 'tis best.
Then farewell to all at once.
And Tenacity sachets away.
Good night and good rest. And now will I likewise with my sweet money go hunt abroad for some good company. Vanity, for thy pains I will not grease thy fist peltingly with 2 or 3 crowns, but When thou list, come boldly unto Prodigality's chest, and take what thou wilt. It's ever open.
I thank you, sir. 'Tis honourably spoken.
Yet, ere I go, with song of joyfulness, let me to Fortune show my thankfulness.
And so he's going to sing two verses of a song. First verse is to Fortune.
Thou that dost guile the world by thy direction, thou that dost conquer states to thy subjection, thou that dost keep each king in thy correction, thou that preservest all in thy protection, for all thy gifts unto thy majesty, I yield both thanks and praise immortally. To mighty Fortune, blah, 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 blah.
Etc. And then verse to Money.
Sweet Money, the minion that sails with all the winds. Sweet Money, the minstrel that makes merry all minds. Sweet Money that gables of bondage unbinds. Sweet Money that maintains all sports of all kinds. This is that sweet Money that rules like a king and makes me all praises of money to sing.
And everybody exits. I think, yeah, definitely starting to get a handle on things. It helps once you realise, the precise nature of Tenacity, really get a sense of it. He's a miser.
Yeah.
He's talking about tenacity of holding on to things, which isn't initially very clear.
No.
And so there is that sense in a production. When we're talking about Fortune, Wheel of Fortune, both literally and figuratively coming to mind there. So there's all sorts of things. I love the fact that they have a sing-off. I think that's fab. Just absolutely brilliant. This play is just... Oh, I'm just loving this. I'm loving this. I love the way Prodigality prepares to hit Tenacity and disputes with themselves. Where shall I first begin, above or beneath? And Tenacity is probably going, above. So, yeah, Prodigality is quite annoyed that Tenacity just keeps turning up. All that stuff. It's so much stuff. In this little sequence. We've met Liberality, who's, title character, who does a speech and then buggers off again. Any thoughts about Liberality before we go into the rest of the scene? Dan, how did you find Liberality?
A little hard to put my finger on him, other than he was just basically going to be the wet blanket to the party there. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just reading the chat. There's so many interesting things in the chat. It's just talking about Keynesian economic policy versus austerity. I think it's quite a good point, actually. If you wanted to make it a wider political allegory, then you could go for that.
Fiscal stimulus is what we need.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, definitely do. So, yeah, other thoughts?
I really like the way Tenacity's been played, because he has all those cheese and chews and zans and zan. He has a lot of figurative sounds in his dialogue. But I really like the way it's being performed, because it's a bit of a juxtaposition to what Tenacity is.
Yes, and also comparatively different to Prodigality as well, who's so fundamentally different too. Other thoughts?
I noted in the chat that this was performed by the children of the Chapple in 1601 there, one of whom was the boy actor William Ostler, who then became an actor for the King's Men. And I'm wondering if, going back to the character of Ostler, if it's actually named for him there.
Gets all the Ostler parts.
But the incorporation of all the songs into this really do strongly support the idea that this was written, especially for maybe possibly for Boys Company. And not to say that it didn't tour or other companies couldn't have picked it up that had strong singers, but the fact that these songs are not detachable at all but are an integral part of the play suggests that, even though this is a morality play that would somehow might suggest it was from the 60s or the 70s.
Mm. Yes, I mean that's sort of the question that we're vaguely going to grapple with, and it's interesting. It's feeling in terms of the way the text is written, it feels later, even if the overall tone of the game that's going on is earlier. But you know, if it is commissioned for, you know, performance for the Queen, maybe she's feeling nostalgic, and you know, and I don't actually know what happens to court drama or that kind of, you know, specially commissioned thing that speaks on the earlier tradition, whether there's still a continuing tradition that's there. Stephen?
Well, just to follow that up, Henslow records patching up some old plays to do before the Queen.
You're fading a bit in and out, Stephen.
Yeah.
Now you've gone entirely.
You've gone entirely now. Say again?
Doesn't matter.
You were saying about, yeah, I think you're back again. Try again.
There's some stuff in Henslow about patching up, I think, Friar Bacon to play before the Queen just before she died, like about 10 weeks before she died. So, yeah, definitely there is, towards the end of her life, I think she was looking at, you know, the kind of greatest hits from when she was younger.
Okay. Any additional thoughts about the scene itself or anything going on within it before we move into what is marked as Act 3? No. Okie dokie. Let's go into Act 3. Well, we've met the host. Now we're going to meet the hostess. And just to confuse you all, it's played by the same person in our doubling. That's not canonical. So,
Hang on, I'm completely lost.
Act 3,
Am
Scene
I
1.
in it?
Not initially. Dandaline.
Good. Okay, I'll find it. Thanks.
Act 1, Scene 1. Enter Dandaline, the hostess.
Now, faith, ye little peevish harlotry, I'll one day make you spit your meat more handsomely. By my truth, truly, had I not come in the rather, she had laid me to the fire, the loin of veal and capon both together, not weighing like an unwitty girlish mother, that the one would ask more roasting than the other, so that either the veal had been left stark raw, or else the capon burnt, and so not worth a straw. And that had been pity, for I assure you, at a word, a better bird, a fairer bird, a finer bird, a sweeter bird, a younger bird, a tenderer bird, a daintier bird, a crisper bird, a more delicate bird was there never set upon any gentleman's board. I lack my guests that should pay for this gear, and sure my mind gives me I should find them here. 2 of my acquaintance, familiar grown, the 3rd to me, yet a gentleman unknown, more than by hearsay, that he is fresh and lusty, full of money, and by name Prodigality. Now, sir, to link him sure to his hostess Dandaline, Dandaline must provide to have all things very fine, and therefore already it is definitum, the gentleman shall want nothing may please his appetitum. Because most meats unsauced are motives to drought, he shall have a lemon to moisten his mouth. A lemon, I mean, no lemon I trow. Take heed, my fair maids, you take me not so, for though I go not as grave as my grandmother, yet I have honesty as well as another. Hush now, shall I hear some news?
We'll just briefly pause there before we go forward. It does seem that you're either talking to someone off stage, or that there is a mute person on stage that you're admonishing there, or a line. Is that? Am I misunderstanding that, or is that?
No, I think you're absolutely right.
I think. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Helen.
It's the idiot who's put the veal and the bird on the same spit.
Mm.
But there's a rude joke there that I've missed.
Yeah, I think it's lemon, isn't it?
Ah,
lemon.
Of course it is.
Mm.
I nearly missed it myself, and I tried to play it, having caught it halfway through, but I'm not sure I made it. I don't think the maid needs to be on stage. I think she can be. And you know what that idiot kitchen maid did? She did this and nearly lost me my good cape on.
Yeah.
And then you can make that to the audience. But it would work if there's a maid too.
And then talking my fair maids plural at the end as well. It's yeah.
Now don't think I'm asking you to bring your tops down a bit lower or, paint your mouths again. No.
Yeah. Yes, there is a question of what Dandeline's position in this establishment is. Interesting questions to be asked and answered, perhaps, in production decisions.
The more I think of it, the more Madame Thénardier comes to mind.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable analogue. Other thoughts before we move on? No? Okay, so Dandaline is still on stage. Enter Tom Toss and Dick Dicer.
Fellow Tompkin, I think this world is made of flint. There's neither money nor where's worth money in it.
Hold thy peace, Dick. It cannot still keep at this stint. We are now lighted upon such a mint as, follow it well, I dare warrant thee, thy turn shall be served in every degree.
Dick, boy, mine own boy, how dost thou? What cheer?
What, Dandaline, mine hostess? What make you here?
I came on purpose to inquire for thee.
And I came of purpose to seek prodigality.
What? He you told me of? Indeed, is it he?
Aye, of my fidelity.
Ah, good boy of mine honesty. But when come ye?
As soon as I can find him.
I'll seek him, good Dick, and find him speedily. For this, I assure ye, your supper is ready.
Go home before, make all things very fine.
Oh, I will. Farewell.
Farewell.
Farewell to Tompkin, too.
Farewell, sweet Dandaline.
But hear ye, bring him.
Who?
Tush a God's name, you know who. I mean the gentleman.
Go to.
And exit the hostess.
Tom, now to the purpose where we first began.
Cast care away, Dick, I'll make thee a man.
A gospel in thy mouth, Tom, for it never went worse. Master money hath left me never a penny in my purse.
'Twill be better, Dick, shalt see very shortly.
I pray thee, tell me, is this brave prodigality so full of money as he is said to be?
Full, quotha, he's too full, I promise thee.
Will he lash it out so lustily?
Exceedingly, unreasonably, unmeasurably.
Then may such mates as we, that be so bare, hope some way or other to catch a share.
Assure thyself of that, but whist, he cometh here. Let's entertain him with familiar cheer.
In order then, bravely.
And they retire to a slightly different part of the stage as enter Prodigality with money.
How is't, my sweet money? Shall we be lusty now?
Be as lusty as you will. I'll be as lusty as you.
Who lacks money? Ho! Who lacks money? But ask and have money, money, money.
Sir, here be they that care not for your money, so much as for your merry company.
And company is it I seek assuredly.
Then here be companions to fit your fantasy, and at all essays to answer your desire, to go, to run, to stay, to do as you require.
What can I wish more? Well then, I pray, what sports, what pastimes shall we first essay?
Marry, first, sir, we both pray you heartily to take a poor supper with us here hard by, where we will determine by common consent what pastimes are fittest for us to frequent.
I grant.
Then, if you please, with some sweet roisting harmony, let us begin the uters of our jollity.
Thou hittest my hand pat. Money, what sayest thou?
It's I like it. Go to it, I pray you.
Shall I begin?
Yea.
Then surely shall it be, to thee, for thee, and in honour of thee.
And there's another song.
Sweet money, the minion that sails with all winds. Sweet money, the minstrel that makes merry minds. Fliticalanana.
Yeah, and then there's this thing. So I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, that's a short song, probably. Scene ends. So, yes, fun stuff. We got some chances, all planning on leeching off Prodigality. We didn't see that coming. Suggestion that this particular hostess is probably from a different establishment entirely, I would suggest. They've journeyed to this establishment, so offering other services. Will he lash it out so lustily, exceedingly, unreasonably, unmeasurably? I like that. Other thoughts?
It's interesting that the scene begins with that AABB rhyme scheme. That's weird. We haven't seen that before in the play. We haven't seen the rhyming couplets.
Didn't we have? I think we had. Didn't Liberality or something have it?
They're much shorter ones this time. The last time the longs were really long, weren't they? Whereas now it's much more punchy.
Yeah.
Something about that. The back and forth of it.
Alan.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like the two lads there are effectively the broker's men, aren't they? In panto terms.
Yeah, they're here to get poor I don't know, buttons.
Yeah.
We can see where this is going. Obviously, Prodigality is not even slightly prodigal. He's literally just going out there going, "Who wants money? Get your money here." You want some money? You can see it go to the audience. Chocolate money out. Chocolate money out. I also really liked. Was it in this bit? Actually, it was the previous scene. Actually, where money's just last. Like when Tenacity's saying, money, you're going to be sent from pillar to post, and money just says, "I am where I like." So I just wanted to call back to that. I just like that line. There's something very sinister about it.
He is a sinister character. And I was thinking actually the whatever it is, Flitozolacanops or whatever it is, you could replace that in a modern production with Cafethi.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a random artifact of, or whether it is actually a line. I genuinely need to look into that because I have no idea what that is. That could just be a cock-up. Okay, any additional thoughts before we go into our final couple of scenes, or a few scenes, as it were? They're sort of all interactive scene. They all go into each other before we finish our sectionette for the day. Helen.
Yes, I one of the things that is really different about this play is how very, very varied the verse form is, and some prose, between the various characters and character types. I mean, you really notice it far more than in other plays that I've come across.
Yeah, Dan?
I'll write it in the chat how it's there, because I'm looking at the quarto of it. It says fly gold knops rather than flitzo.
Yeah, it's clearly not right.
But it's all one word there.
Yeah. Excellent. Other thoughts? Okay, let's go into this final sequence of what is known as the third act. Scene 4, enter Liberality again. Haven't seen Liberality for a while. Let's see what they've got to say.
The more a man with virtuous dealing doth himself inure, the less with worldly business he is molested sure, which maketh proof that as turmoil still toss the worldly mind, and chiefly where the life is led in virtuous exercise, there is no toil, but ease and contentation to the wise. But what accounts how slight regard is had of virtue here, but actions on this worldly stage most plainly doth appear. Men see without most just desert of virtue not is got. To fortune therefore fly they still that giveth all by lot. And finding fortune's gift so pleasant, sweet, and savory, they build thereon as if they should endure perpetually. But this is sure, and that most sure, that fortune is unsure. Herself most frail, her gifts as frail, subject to every shower. And in the end, who buildeth most upon her surety shall find himself cast headlong down to depth of misery. Then having felt the crafty sleights of fortune's fickle train, is forced to seek by virtue's aid to be relieved again. This is the end, run how he list, this man of force must do. Unless his life be clean cut off, this man must come unto. In time, therefore, man might do well to care for his estate, lest letted by extremity, repentance come too late.
And enter to Liberality, Captain Well Done.
Sir, I beseech you, speak a good word for me to the prince, that by her letters I may be commended to some province where service is to be had, either there to die with fame, or else to get me somewhere whereon to live without shame. For beg I cannot, and steal I may not. The truth is so, but need doth make, the proverb saith, the old wife to trot for woe. Yet whom stark need doth pinch, at length the devil drives to go. Therefore, I beseech you, pity his extremity, that would not make this suit without necessity.
Who be you, my friend?
By birth, a gentleman, by profession, a soldier, who, though I say it in all our sovereign's war, with hazard of my blood and life have gone too far, as haply some others whose fortunes have been better. But I in service yet could never be a getter, nay, can I impute it but to mine own destiny? For well I know the prince is full of liberality.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Well Done.
Are you Captain Well Done?
Though unworthy, sir, I bear that name.
Give me your hand, Captain Well Done. For your fame in feats of arms and service of your country I have heard oft. You have deserved it greatly. Therefore think this, that as you merit much, so the consideration thereof shall be such as duly doth pertain to your desert. Trust me, the prince herself, unmoved of my part, your dutiful service hath specially regarded, and expressly commands that it be well rewarded. Wherefore, you shall not need to seek service abroad. I exhort you at home still to make your abode, that if in this realm occasions of war be offered, you and your others, your like, may be employed.
My duty binds me to obey.
Then for this time you shall not need to stay, as if your cause I will remember it, and see it holpen to as it shall be fit.
And exit Captain Well Done.
Truly, if I should not have care of this man's necessity, I should both swerve from virtue and from honesty.
Now enter to Liberality, a Courtier. Yes, you didn't think we were going to get to you, but we did.
Sir, I humbly beseech you help me to prefer my suit.
What is it?
There is an office form which I would gladly execute.
Who be you?
A servant here in court.
You serve the prince?
No, and please you.
Whom then?
A nobleman near about her majesty.
In what degree?
Forsooth, sir, as his secretary.
How long have you served?
A year or twain.
And would you so soon be preferred? In sooth, my friend, I would be glad as I may to do you any good, but this I say, who seeks by virtue preferment to attain, and virtuous proceeding must take more pain, that can be well taken in a year or twain. For time gives experience of every man's deeds, and each man by merit accordingly speeds. Go forward, my friend, and virtue with diligence, and time for your service shall yield you recompense. Your lord and master is very honorable, and him in your suits you shall find favorable. And as for my part, as erst I did say, I never will hinder where further I may. Let this for this time be your answer.
Sir, with my boldness, I beseech you to bear.
God be with you.
And exit the courtier.
Some men deserve and yet do want their due. Some men again on small deserts do sue. It therefore standeth princes' officers in hand, the state of every man rightly to understand, that so by balance of equality each man may have his hire accordingly. Well, since Dame Virtue unto me doth charge of many things refer, I must go do that best beseems a faithful officer.
And exits. Okay. Who is Liberality? What is, because the name seems misleading. Again, another name which isn't bringing across. So what is Liberality, as well as who is Liberality? Aliki first.
Liberality seems to say that, I think, that he represents, what do you call it? Reward for just work. You know, if it's your due, you get what you deserve. So the courtier has to wait. The hero gets helped, right? That's how I'm reading it.
Helen.
He's the patronage secretary.
Yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he's more like probity than liberality. I mean, I associate the word liberality with a much later period, like the end of the 18th, beginning of the 19th century. That's where I get my understanding of liberality too. So I don't know if it was slightly different earlier on, where it had a slightly different meaning, but to me, he's more like probity than liberality, because liberality for me is sort of like generosity of, you know, not just materially, but like of temper. And he doesn't appear to me to have a very generous temper. He's more like the sort of, as Aliki was saying, he's more like the sort of his integrity, and he's quite stern at times.
And even for this time, it doesn't feel like this is what the word means in my mind, and other instances where we've stumbled across it. Alan.
I'm just wondering, at the risk of trespassing on Helen's areas of expertise, whether this is possibly partly satirical of Cecil.
Not necessarily Cecil, but it's certainly tremendously politically loaded. The captain, who would be being appallingly badly treated if we're talking around 1600 here. I mean, the idea that the captain was actually being well treated and getting just rewards and had no need to seek foreign service is absolute nonsense. And the courtier, is being turned down by this provident liberality but in fact, the reverse was the truth. So I think politically this is very loaded, but whether in fact the Cecils would be the people, it was a lowish time for the Cecils. William was dead and Robert hadn't quite come into his full power. So possibly not the Cecils.
Yeah, or it might be just more a general thing. It does feel like this is the area of the play where I'm not getting a handle on precisely what's going on or why, and whether there's another layer to meaning that we just aren't immediately getting, and that we need context or adjustment. Dan, are you waving?
Yeah, just to go back on the whole trying to place when this play may have been written. It seems to be an emblematic play, but then liberality, who the heck is liberality? I've never heard of this character, this emblem before, this iconic character. So I'm wondering if liberality is just more serving as some sort of chorus here, voice of reason.
Liberality came in quite late, didn't he?
Yeah, not till the beginning of Act 2.
Yes, but he is in the title.
Sorry, Elizabeth?
Helen's just saying he is in the title.
Yes, there is. We haven't got to a contention, an explicit contention between them yet.
Also, one of the things the captain says is the prince is full of liberality, which was, of course, what you were supposed to say about Elizabeth. She is a very liberal prince, but it was also exactly the opposite of the truth. She was extraordinarily mean.
So is this satire then? Like,
well, no, she liked to be told that she was very liberal, despite the fact that she wasn't. So I think that the prince is full of liberality could be taken by the target audience as being nothing but true.
And of course, liberality is working for virtue. It's something that turned up very the first time we meet him. He's talking about that, and we've met virtue, but virtue hasn't really been involved in the action. So there's a slight disconnect there in things.
It would make more sense if this liberality character was virtue. Actually,
sorry,
Fortune looking about somewhere. And everything's happening in Fortune's palace, which is, I think it is the inn or contains the inn, where the host and the hostess are in their domain.
Stephen said something in chat about medieval usage of liberality. Could you expand, or I'll just state that for the room?
Well, I did a bit of digging, and it's a golden mean between prodigality and stinginess, apparently. So it's not the same meaning as now.
So moderation, then, almost.
Yeah.
So we've got the miser figure, we've got the prodigality figure, and then you've got this person who's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Which is the moderation in all things is a good thing. You don't want to be too miserly. You don't want to be too prodigious. That makes a lot of sense. It's just we might need to rename him for an audience, or just have a definition flash up to explain who the fuck he is, because the word clearly does not read to a modern audience that way at all. And Virtue's very unhappy, and Virtue's has a homely bower somewhere. I don't know whether that's on stage or in the room. So Virtue's, in theory, present somewhere in this space, having a nap, while the Fortune is riding around in chariots, and so there's a sort of weird ecology of these figures and characters and things that's going on.
And there is a suggestion. I mean, the liberality says, "Who be you?" and the courtier says, "A servant here in court." I mean, so are we now moved to the court, out of the inn yard?
I think there's definitely a sense that the general location shifted with Dandaline's entrance. That's a different location to the inn. It's a different inn. It's a different establishment. So I think whereas the first act did feel like it was in a location, it feels like that continued for a while. We've broken out to other locales, perhaps. I don't know. I just don't know. Seem to have got quite far ahead. Just looking at the clock, going, "Oh, we've got done another scene or two." People could tend to read on a little bit more for next other additional thoughts. I'm going to step on the next session a little, may confuse everything, but I kind of feel like we're on a roll. Let's rattle through the next scene or so and see what we come up with before we go into extra time. So we're going into Act 4. I wasn't planning to, but it's happening. Scene 1, enter money.
Liberty Liberty, liberty, now I cry liberty! Catch me again when you can, prodigality. Never was there poor soul so cruelly handled. I was at the first, like a cockney dandled, stroke it on the head, kissed and well cherished, and so thought surely I should have continued. But now, how my case is altered suddenly. You would not believe me unless you saw it apparently. In faith, since ye saw me, I have been turmoiled from post to pillar. See how I am spoiled? The villains among them provided the roast, but money was forced to pay for the cost, both for their feasting and for their chamber cheer. Yea, in every place they have fleeced me so near. He a fleece and she a fleece, that nothing could I keep, but glad to run away like a new shorn sheep. And though I have been pinched very near, I am glad to see you in good health, everyone here. And now I have escaped the traitorous treachery of such thriftless, roasting company. To my mother in haste again I will get me, and keep at home safely, from thence let them fet me.
So yes, money has been buffeted around somewhat, calling for liberty. And it was warned earlier. Into the next scene then, enter Vanity and unto money. So maybe money doesn't run off.
What, Master Money? How goeth the world with you?
Look what's upon me, thou mayst quickly judge how.
Why, where the vengeance, where the devil hast thou been? Among brambles or briars, or spirit, sure I ween.
Both read it and what it. I have passed a wilderness of most mischievous and miserable distress. Sharp brambles, sharp briars, and terrible scratches. Bears, wolves, apes, lions, most ravening snatchers. Thorns, thistles, and nettles, most horrible stingers. Ravens, gripes, and griffins, oh vengeful ringers. Yea, through my whole passage such damnable sights, as I cannot but judge them most damnable sprites. Laugh ye, my friend? It is no laughing toy.
But who did guide you in this labyrinth of joy?
Who, sir? Your minion, sir, Prodigality, the captain elected of all wasting knavery. He will be hanged. I warrant him shortly. Yeah, go to, laugh on.
Are you not a cuckold?
I may be indeed, my clothes be but thin, and therefore I won't even go get me in, that fortune my mother may clothe me new.
Do so. You had need to, I may say to you. Now sure it is a world of worlds to see, how all the world inclines to vanity. Men seek at first, that is but vanity, and lose at last, that was but vanity, and yet continue still to follow vanity, as though it were a thing of certainty. And I, that bear the name of vanity, and see the world's exceeding vanity, in following so the tracks of vanity, do triumph still amid my empery, and laugh at their simplicity, that will be so misled by vanity. But who is this? Oh, I know him, a scholar of our train. 'Tis Hobber Clunch, that comes from money again.
So enter to Vanity, Tenacity, Fortune, and Money again.
Godspeed, Master Vanity.
Welcome, Master Tenacity.
Sure, you come once again for money.
So methinks.
You shall be spared now at length, trow ye?
I cannot tell ye, 'tis hard to say. Peradventure yea, peradventure nay.
Oh, so, man.
I fear me you will spend him too fast away.
Just so hear that, friend Vanity. Not need, man. You'll keep him safe, I warrant thee. Oh, that I had him in my clutches. should see, I trow, whether should keep him fast and safe or no. I pray thee, good sweet Master Vanity, speak one good word for poor Tenacity.
And dost thou indeed so well love money?
Do my wife's bees at home, think'st thou love honey?
What wouldst thou do with it? Should, what should?
Should do no harm at all.
No, nor much good, I think, to great or small. But, well, put case, I procure thee to speed. You will remember your promise that I shall be feed.
God's fast man, yea, he'll do it, he'll do it.
Stand there a while and wait. Bright goddess, behold here again Tenacity, that humbly makes his suit to have money.
For money? Ho there! Money finds himself well. Money now hath no liking from fortune to dwell.
In vanum laboraverunt, come.
Now, good suit, honey, for golden mistress, let poor Tenacity taste of thy goodness, that he honour, that he serve, that he reverence, and in thy help I put my whole confidence.
Honey, you must go to him. There is no remedy.
Yea, and be used as before in prodigality.
Let prodigality go to the gallows tree. Why, man, he and I are clean contrary. I shall clean, he'll cuss thee.
So did he.
He'll save thee, he'll spare thee, he'll keep thee from wasting.
So did not he. Go to then, seeing that my mother's will is such, to posit an adventure I may not quench.
Oh, my sweeting, my darling, my jewel, my joy, my pleasure, my treasure, mine own pretty boy.
How now, what mean you by this Tenacity?
Oh, forbid me not to kiss my sweet Minnie. Farewell, fortune, and fortune, she thank thee always. Consider, he'll meet you vast, won't they?
What, with ropes? What needs that?
For fear of robbing by the highway. La mi fa so fa li, la mi po sa fa li.
And exit Tenacity's singing, and goeth to the inn for his ass. We'll pause there. This whole sequence here feels, if this is something that's based on an older text, this is where the older text feels like it's suddenly poking through the surface a lot more. The whole bit with money doing the brambles, sharp briars, and terrible scratches, that is so mid-century. That's a very, very, that's a sort of word game set piece kind of thing that people would do. I like the fact we've got a description of Tenacity as Hobber Clunch. And Clunch is a character in Old Wives' Tale, who's a chap who lives out in the woods. So
it's a local vocal yokel.
Yeah, and there's also bits of this. It's feeling very Gamma Gurtons and Edel and all sorts of, but that's just the way it's written in terms of that sort of ye olde speaky kind of thing. We don't have any entrance points for money or fortune, but clearly when Vanity does that wonderful conjuration that and money when being talked about, going, hang on, no, do I not get a say in this? There's something really interesting going on there. I just loved. There was someone mentioned in chat. I think it's a good point to bring up. Like a cockney dandled. That's an interesting question mark. Is that someone modernising that for this modern text and making a massive assumption there?
It is an early modern word, but I can't remember what it means.
Well, isn't it dandled on a knee, cock a knee? bouncing a child up and down on your knee.
Mm.
It'll be interesting to know what it means in those days.
Mm.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah. So other thoughts while that is happening. Money for Tenacity. So he's going to get poor Money must be knackered. I mean, the description of poor. My whole passage, such damnable sights. There's not had a good time at all.
I'm really enjoying the puns and the wordplay, especially the filthy ones. Sorry.
Fine.
And just generally what Helen had said earlier about the verse form having a lot of variation. It's not just the verse form, the different ways that different characters make jokes and the different modes of speech even within. It's just, there's so much variety, and I'm suddenly really excited about this play when I admit I wasn't from the title.
No, the title does suggest it's going to be terribly, terribly worthy. And then it turns out actually to be rather camp.
I have some Cockney news.
Yes.
As a verb, it's to overindulge, cosset, or pamper.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My pampered little darling.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Dan has just put something similar in chat.
Yeah. On the Dandle front. So yes, it all fits together. All fits together. Alan.
I have a feeling that the title of this is a deliberate echo of a early Elizabethan piece, and the whole thing is coming across to me as being almost a compilation exercise of taking older themes, older styles, and there isn't that much of a through line within the things. I think there are sort of edited best bits coming in here from this sequence worked well in that sequence worked well in that.
I don't know. All of the scenes are feed into the overall narrative. I don't think there's any random set pieces or anything at all like that.
I think there's been care taken to actually construct something out of bits from elsewhere. It reminds me, there was I looked into these many years ago, the Elizabethan conceits and wordplay, for which I think the vogue was pre-Armada, which seems to be coming into this as well.
Other thoughts, Stephen?
Well, just to sort of agree with Alan, really, it reminds me a bit of the way it felt when Tarantino came out, in the sense of that you recognise what's the word, homage. It's not necessarily a literal compilation, but it's something with the kind of style and pastiche. Thank you. Yes, that's it. One word will do the job.
Yeah, the line that occurs to me is apparently, allegedly, after I think it was one of the early Star Wars films, someone said, "Oh, there were 3 cliches I didn't see in there. Oh, quick, tell me, and I'll put them in the next one."
Yeah, because it's quite different from, say, when we were looking at the Third Marriage of Whitsine's play, where it did feel like there were bits that literally had nothing to do with the plot, and they were just there as random interludes. Whereas this does feel like a whole, and it's really difficult stylistically to date in that sense, because lots of it does feel, there are huge chunks of this that do feel very early, but then there's elements that also feel very, very late. These child companies and playing all sorts of different games, and it's really interesting. So just to briefly talk about the dating issue. So some people have dated it to 1567 because there is a reference to a play called Prodigality, of which we have no definite account of what it was. This particular text is printed in 1602 and has been connected with a performance the year before, which seems very plausible. So whether it has any relation to an earlier text, is possible, but it feels like it's definitely an artifact of the early 17th century, rather than earlier. Or it seems to me. I mean, by all means, make a case for earlier, but that seems to be that it's quite spurious to try and put it earlier, which is actually why I put it here, actually, because I hadn't realised the dating was confused. So I actually deliberately put it next door to what we're doing tomorrow. So, oh well. Best laid plans. Stephen.
Yeah, just to kind of follow on from that, the comparison that springs to mind is Night of the Burning Pestle.
Mm.
But that's really kind of taking the piss out of the kind of old-fashioned stuff that people like, and this feels much more like a kind of love letter.
Mm.
This is actually in the expectation that you like the old stuff. There's nothing wrong with it, and this is a kind of tribute band sort of approach.
Mm.
Let's just do the old ones one more time.
Yeah. It's John Day who sort of was really very in love with, he's I think writing a little later, who's absolutely in love with earlier Elizabethan or even early mid-Tudor drama, and is clearly just wants to write that kind of play and that kind of text, the debate play kind of thing. So that there is, by this point, there's enough printed material out there for people to go, I quite liked the old stuff, and maybe do something with it. And if the audience is an aging queen who will die next year, next couple of years, maybe there's a clear appetite for this from there. Dan.
It's interesting to note the other plays that were performed by the children of the chapel at that time. You've got Cynthia's Revels, Ben Jonson's play. You've got Mayday, and you've got Poetaster, and then you've got Sir Giles Goosecap and Chapman. These are all kind of satirical comedies there. So just seems to kind of, this play seems to have just been picked for that reason, because for what you to go with your argument about what type of fare the Queen may have liked in these latter years.
Mm. Well, we do have a mention of Cases Altered, so maybe there's an in-joke. Ben Jonson play.
It's a very common phrase.
It is a very common phrase. That's why I wasn't really seriously going with it, but I just thought I'd throw it in. There was another line that seemed to reference something else as well, but I can't find it. Final thoughts then from the room. Pamela, do you have any final thoughts about the play overall? How you enjoyed it? How do we see it as something for today? What do we do with a text like this? I'm actually full of ideas, I have to say.
Yeah, I am really enjoying it. And what I'm enjoying about it is, despite it being old, and we're saying that it was maybe even based on something older, I think it's still kind of relevant, and I think there's a lot of stuff that is still worthy today. I actually really enjoyed your reference to RuPaul's Drag Race earlier, and I was thinking, with all of the kind of sing-offs and the fact that you jump around a lot, that it and I guess because we referenced cabaret as well in the notes earlier, I feel like it could be done in that kind of cabaret style, with like people coming on and doing a scene, and then you kind of rotate around. And yeah, I think to stage it could be really, really, really fun.
And it's interesting also, if we're talking about the Miser figure as well, that maybe when he comes on, all the light is sucked away and everything goes brown, and liberality lives somewhere in between, and that there are these forces at work that are not, because it is semi-allegorical, so you have semi-real people and ones who are not, and how those worlds interact. I think there's a lot of fun that can be had with that. It's just almost like a magical realm. Sarah, final thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much the same, really. I love the cohesion of it. In spite of the fact it's got all these different verse forms, and I think they're just kind of really good indicators of character. You've got later, well, maybe not later on, I don't really know, but like you've got characters in the canon of literature who when they have dialogue, they famously have different patterns of speech and different verbal tics and whatnot. And for me, the changes between the different verse forms, that's what this is. It's like it's giving these characters who on the one hand they're like a throwback to an earlier time when they weren't really characters. They didn't have much characterization, but it's giving them characterization, and I love that. I think it's really funny, and it has the potential to be as camp as a row of tents, which I just think is brilliant.
Helen, any final thoughts?
Yes, I'm very interested in how one would show money, because he's sort of spent but always the same. It's, if you see what I mean, the essence that suddenly he appears battered about and then he's plump again, and you know, I think there are all sorts of interesting things that one could do, but I don't know how you would do them. The other thing is that I'm at the moment working on All for Money, a completely different play, but there's an awful lot written about money and its impact and its effect, political, moral, and and religious.
There is almost, actually, we've been talking about how do we package some plays together, and you know, money is actually there's enough plays out there where we could take money, concerns of you know of how it functions, economics, our economics season. That'll get them rolling in the arse.
Don't call it that.
Elizabeth, any final thoughts?
Particularly liked Captain Well Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Captain Well Done was one of those characters that kind of came out of nowhere but really worked in the play as a whole.
I think we see him again. Spoilers. I think we might see Captain Well Done once again. So fingers crossed. Alan, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, it's enjoyable. Sorry, I was just looking at the file that's been downloaded.
Oh dear, do not download that file.
For the listeners at home, you don't want to know. Moving on.
No. I think it's an interesting piece. I think it would need to be played at pace. And I think the cabaret style or the cabaret framing could well work. But I think it's got to be quite zippy in terms of its approach to make it work.
Yeah, it's all energy, pace, isn't it? Dan, final thoughts?
Yeah, it's a fun play. The more that we read this, the more I think that this seems really much like a children's play rather than a professional company play. It's very short. The quarto itself has been very padded out as well in terms of the way it's been printed. It's been spaced out so that there are more pages, so that whoever's the public can feel like they're getting something of value there. So be interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it is short, but it's not. It's by no means excessively short in terms of, you know, potential play lengths that we have around then, especially if there's song and dance numbers, because that's going to make the, you know, in performance this a much longer text as well.
Oh, just by lines, but yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And we, you know, we it was in the chat. I don't think when we were talking about that word. The audience at home have no idea what we were talking about. Fly gold nops. Does seem to be very much, you know, audience participation, throwing gold out into the audience. Chocolate money, a go-go. I don't think you're allowed to do that anymore. Aliki, final thoughts?
I really want to do this now. I'm on record saying I don't much like the comedies and I don't much like the morality plays, but I love this for all of the reasons that everybody has been talking about. And I had something else to say, but it's gone. What fun! Let's do it.
Okay, Stephen, final thoughts.
Yeah, I like the shout out to Chamberlain. I guess everybody spotted that with this kind of chariot drawn by kings. I really enjoyed that sort of wonderfully surreal moment where Tenacity, having won money, gets a length of rope out, and the rest of the dialogue presumably is wandering around money, sort of winding money in with rope, and that seems to speak to a point that I think Rob made earlier, which is one, it's kind of wonderfully surreal and imaginative, but it does also have a kind of solid structure to it. You know, there is a reason for him doing this. It isn't just for a kind of weird reaction shot laugh, but you could get some brilliant business from this play, I think.
Yeah. Really
Okay.
good.
Let's find a cabaret club that will still be open in a year's time and and put it on. I feel like a table setting would work so well. Oh, there's still more stuff in the chat which nobody at home wants to know about. Gold and silver body paint is being suggested. It's all terrifying. Okay, we've got a final chunket of this play to do. We're going to do in the next session before we go into a play that definitely is from the 1560s. So all that remains is to thank all the readers today for this rather fun session, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Um,